Welcome, everyone. This is the Google Cloud Satellite session. The topic of today is how to unleash the power of your APIs. We'll be going into how to accelerate innovation with APIs and with integration. If you have any questions, please enter them in the chat. There are experts right now standing ready for you to answer any questions you might have. So please don't hesitate. Speakers of today will be the following three. I will kick it off. My name is Kevin Bouwmeester. I'm a customer engineering lead for Apigee in EMEA. And I'll be joined by two other experts. And I'll give them their opportunity to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Kevin. My name is Mehdi. I'm a customer engineer based out of the Middle East. And I work with many customers across the Middle East, Turkey, and Africa.
Hey guys, my name is Harish Kumar. I've been with Apigee for 5 years now. And with Google for 5 years, and I support customers in UKI, and I'm very happy to be here.
Let's look at the agenda. I will be kicking it off to look at the why APIs and integration matter, why you should even bother to talk about them. After that, Mehdi will kick it off to look at the products, and he'll present the solution architecture, and we'll go into how we can help you. And after that, we'll also go show it to you. Harish will be able to give you an end-to-end demonstration to show our solutions. And after that, we want to close it off and look at if you are enthusiastic about this and you want to learn more, how you can do that. We have some great hands-on sessions coming up and we'd like to introduce these to you. So without further ado, let's get started. Why do APIs and integration matter? Well, APIs are not new, and they are around for quite a long time. But how they've been used has changed over time, and they've been used even more and more, and in a way to create digital interactions. And digital interactions have kind of rapidly grown over the last few years. So you can see that there's a 200% increase in the 12 months from 2021 to 2022. And I think right now in 2024 there is even more growth in there. The reason behind that is that the use of APIs has changed over time from interactions in the 1960s to the 1980s. And that's kind of how we all know APIs as they've started to connect software to software. But after that, APIs have been also used for digital experiences. Think about the mobile app, the websites, there's all APIs behind that, powering that. But from there, it even took off quite rapidly, with APIs being the foundation for platforms. Think about Facebook or YouTube as a platform where APIs are the foundation. Many of our customers and organizations have started ecosystems where they have created developers around their organization to make sure they are growing and they have a lot of digital interactions that are being created by that ecosystem. That started to increase the growth a lot. But the next step is upon us as well, and that is AI. Think about what is happening with GenAI and LLMs. And APIs are the foundation for these models to get data, to get access to data, and to expose their intelligence. So APIs and AI is just one letter difference, but they go hand in hand, and it will mean that APIs will become even more important for a lot of organizations. So APIs are important, but what are the challenges to work with them in the proper way? Well, this slide in the middle has an explanation of what you need to think about when you want to do APIs properly. You need to build them, you need to operate them, and you need to govern them, right? So things like how to publish them, or how to secure them, or how to test them properly are important. And if you take everything into account, then you have the right path to success. So what we want to help you with is to make sure you spend time in development as less as possible, right? Making sure that you're able to improve standardization, making sure that you don't need a lot of specialized skills to develop all the APIs and all the integrations there, and that you can adopt new protocols and use cases and not be stuck in a heterogeneous architecture. Another thing is to make sure that we can help you with the sprawl API portfolios. There's a big problem if you have a lot of APIs popping up in your organization which are unmanaged, uncontrolled, not having analytics on them, or not being sure how they're being used. Getting insights into that is extremely important, and making sure that with that we can keep the costs of APIs low and as much value that you can get from those APIs. And thirdly, as APIs have become more popular, as I've shown on my previous slides, there's also bad actors moving to use APIs. And we have seen that the percentage of traffic that is abusive has grown as well. So as APIs become more important and there's more value, more important data, for example, in those APIs, there's also more risk in those APIs being attacked. And that's an important point for organizations to be able to work on. So in summary, what we want to do with API management is to make sure that you do get the potential of those APIs, but then in a way that it is managed. Think about the circle in the middle of the last slide. Now, in summary, it's to build with ease, manage the supply chain of getting new digital interactions and new releases out, keeping development time as short as possible, and thirdly, maximizing the security and value and preventing any risks there might be. So this is on API management. But there's another topic of today, and that is integration. And the reason for that is that we have seen that more and more organizations are adopting SaaS applications. On average, 500, it says on this slide, in an organization. It's 500 applications. And many of those applications are in the cloud, or running on Google Cloud, or are SaaS applications running anywhere like SAP or Salesforce or Workday. The thing is, many of these, the business processes around these applications need to communicate to all that. There needs to be an integration or orchestration flow connecting all these applications together and making sure that when data is entered in one application, it also triggers some update in another application. And that doesn't scale well to do with point-to-point applications. You need a proper solution for that as well. And that has become really important as we start to see organizations adopt more and more SaaS and cloud. So what we want to introduce as well is a way to do this easily with a visual integration designer, having plug-and-play connectors to connect to all these applications with just one connector without building a lot of custom connection logic. Having versatile tests and transformations to build the orchestration flow and your business flow between those applications. And doing this all in a cloud-native managed service. So without stealing too much from the next speaker, I'll move along. So this will form an API and integration platform, having API management and cloud integration together. It will help you be flexible for various use cases, adopting application architectures, business models with APIs, and being sure that you can take part in that increase of API and the value that is getting there that I showed in my previous slide. It will make sure that you're resilient at scale from your first to your billionth API call, making sure you have everything in place to monitor, having actions, insights into what is happening. And thirdly, doing that with enough protection and proper security in place, and making sure you can tailor this for your developers so that your and external developers that you are collaborating with have access to the data, APIs, and integrations that they need to build for the future. So with that, we have looked at why. And after that, of course, we want to move into how. How can we help you with this? So this is the point where I hand over to Maddie, who will take it forward and we'll look into a product overview and a solution architecture.
Thank you, Kevin, for the amazing introduction. Let's dive deep into the product overview and solution architecture of both Apigee and application integration. So we're going to segregate or separate the product overview into 3 different chunks. We're going to be going over how you can build, automate, and test. Then we're going to be looking over into analytics, and then we're going to be going into the security and other functionalities and capabilities to help you accelerate your API program. So to begin with, let's understand how we can create and test our APIs with ease for any use case. So immediately, the Apigee UI is a graphical user interface that you can use to manage the lifecycle of your APIs. So you can use the Apigee UI to develop and deploy your API proxies, trace their execution, view API analytics, and manage other aspects of your Apigee organization and its environments. So you can access the Apigee UI directly in the Google Cloud Console, making it easier to access and manage Apigee whilst working with other Google Cloud resources. Also, if you would like to have a CI/CD approach in building your APIs, we also have the ability to create APIs via our Apigee APIs. If you are using VS Code, immediately you can install the VS Code extension, which helps you to create your Apigee APIs. Continuing on from the conversation of CI/CD, we have a wide range of tools to help you get started with CI/CD. So we have our developer relations GitHub that helps you to immediately start building APIs using your CI/CD pipeline. This includes Cloud Build and other different types of CI/CD tools. Now, when it comes to building APIs, Apigee's, we have something called policies, and these policies allow you to augment your APIs to control traffic, enhance performance, enforce security, and increase the utility of your APIs without requiring you to write any code or modify the backend services. So in fact, we have over 50 policies for common API management features grouped into 4 main functionalities. As you can see, we can decide to do some rate limiting to, threshold or apply some kind of threshold to our backend servers. We can do some caching, and we can also do some quotas. Also, you can secure your APIs directly using our Apigee policies. So here we have a range of different policies to help with different security mechanisms. You can further transform the API request and response using our mediation policies, and you can extend. So if there is any functionality which perhaps is not met by our out-of-the-box API policies, you can go ahead and write your own custom code using Java, Python, or JavaScript callouts, as well as interact with all the other Google Cloud services through the different types of policies catered to each Google Cloud service. Now, there's no need to redo work for every API proxy that you build. You can group together policies and reuse them quickly over multiple API proxies. So also, you can enforce certain policies for all of your API proxies. So this helps with the creation of APIs and also the maintenance of APIs. So instead of you having 200 APIs and having to build each of the different policies in each of the different 200 APIs, you can create these shared flows which can be reusable across many different APIs and also maintained. Now we go one step further when it comes to abstraction. You can also create a flow hook which allows you to attach a shared flow across all of the API proxies within a certain environment. This ensures that any API created will have the default policies created perhaps by the security team to ensure that every single API created follows a certain standard or even security practice. Moving on, now you've created your APIs. Now you've added some logic to your APIs, you've secured them, you've transformed them, etc. Apigee API Hub enables you to consolidate and organize information about all of the different APIs in your company's organization. It includes APIs at all stages of their lifecycle, from design and implementation through deprecation and retirement. API Hub allows developers to discover APIs easily and leverage the work of other teams wherever possible. API platform teams can use API Hub to centrally manage their portfolio of APIs. Many organizations are challenged by the increasing number of APIs that they develop and use. As the number of APIs increase, they can become harder to track, which can lead to duplication rather than reuse and expensive inefficiency. When the APIs proliferate without design standards and governance checks, the API landscape grows inconsistently, slowing the teams down when a well-organized API program helps them actually go faster. So API Hub actually allows developers to upload and share descriptions of APIs that are either currently available or in development. So those descriptions include standard formats like OpenAPI, Google API Discovery Service format, and even protocol buffer language for gRPC as well. Moving on to the topic of the century, AI. How do we infuse AI within Apigee to help accelerate developer productivity within Apigee? So of course, when you are using Apigee, you're developing APIs, you're creating APIs through the VS Code extension, immediately you can type in a prompt, and this would go ahead and create the Open API spec for you using the enterprise context, meaning understanding the existing APIs within API Hub to help you build an API, not just a generic API, but an API that is relevant to your engineering excellence and standards. Furthermore, within API Hub, immediately you can instantly make your APIs into an LLM extension, allowing you to integrate your APIs directly into popular LLM tools. Also, and we're going to be discovering this in the later slides, we also have AI within our advanced API security component, whereby automatic API abuse detection is actually powered by our Google ML models. So you can immediately leverage these within your security portfolio. Next, I want to dive deeper into application integration. Application integration is an integration platform as a service, iPaaS, solution in Google Cloud that offers a comprehensive set of core integration tools to connect and manage the multitude of applications and data required to support various business operations. Application integration is serverless, auto-scales, and is fully managed by Google. This means that with simple point-and-click configurations, you can quickly and securely create, maintain, and scale your integrations directly on top of Google's scalable infrastructure. Within application integration, we have many different functionalities where you can go ahead and create your complex orchestration, long-running transactions, as well as apply data mapping. There's more than 100 connectors to even third-party business applications. And of course, AI is infused within application integration, whereby you can create your integration business workflows directly through language prompts. This solution is low code, no code. So immediately you can have the ability to, for different personas within the company, to create business workflows. So continuing on from application integration, how do we put together an end-to-end solution between Apigee and application integration? Of course, Apigee is there to manage your APIs, providing the security of APIs, advanced API security, potentially monetizing your APIs, putting all the different types of business logic and using the Apigee out-of-the-box policies, and managing the developers as well as analyzing your APIs, of course, monitoring them as well. And then once you have all these different API endpoints and API proxies, of course, there'll be a business need to be able to manage your business workflows, all of your different complex orchestrations, your long-running transactions. And this is done via application integration. And immediately we have connectors that allows you to connect from Apigee directly into application integration. Within application integration, we also have the ability to do parallel processing, asynchronous tasks, and the ability to monitor and error handle any issues happening with any of the different executions within application integration, including the ability to do retries. Now let's discuss the deployment methods of Apigee and application integration. Within Apigee, we have the Apigee X offering, which is a SaaS offering and allows you to process and manage and scale your APIs directly within Google Cloud. So Google manages the runtime plane. This means that Google auto-scales your APIs and also maintains the runtime as well as performs any necessary patches and upgrades, leaving you to only focus on managing your APIs directly through the control plane, which is situated within the Google Cloud Console. This is the same thing with application integration, whereby the integration executions are actually processed and run directly on Google Cloud. Of course, Google Cloud is managing this, so Google Cloud will have to worry about how to scale this using Google's infrastructure, as well as maintenance and any other relevant upgrades or patching. And of course, the customer would only have to worry about managing the APIs and integrations on the control plane. Of course, we understand some customers would like to run our Apigee solution directly within their premises or other clouds, and that's why we offer Apigee Hybrid. Apigee Hybrid allows you to run the Apigee runtime directly within a supported Kubernetes platform. For example, you can use other clouds, other public clouds, as well as any on-premise solution. This means that the runtime plane is managed by the customer, so they can immediately leverage and process the APIs directly within their environments without having to have any dependency with Google Cloud. However, the APIs will also be managed within Google Cloud. So you get to utilize a wide range of tools and Google Excellence to manage your APIs. We also have the Apigee adapter for Envoy, and this is an Apigee managed API gateway that uses Envoy to proxy API traffic. Envoy is a popular open source edge and service proxy designed for cloud native applications. So you can run Apigee adapter for Envoy on-premise or in a multi-cloud environment. With Apigee Adapter for Envoy, you get a relatively small footprint API gateway application running very closely to your backend applications. So now let's go into the section about publishing, operating, and engaging with your APIs. As an API provider, you can create API products to bundle your APIs and make them available to app developers for consumption. You can think of API products as your product line. Specifically, an API product bundles together one or more operations. An operation specifies an API proxy and a resource path that can be accessed on that proxy. An operation can also limit access by HTTP methods and by quota. API products are the central mechanism for access control to your APIs. By defining one or more API products in a developer app, you can restrict access to proxies with an API key. In Apigee, API keys are provisioned not for the APIs themselves, but for the API products. In other words, API keys are provisioned for bundles of operations that define a product line or specific service plan. As an API provider, you have developed a set of APIs and API products to provide access to your backend services. Your next step is to build the developer portal to enable app developers to learn about your data and service offerings, to also learn about how to use your APIs by reviewing comprehensive documentation, including example use cases, tutorials, and reference documentation, and also to allow them to register using a self-service process in order to build apps to use your APIs. Apigee supports several developer portal solutions, summarized, ranging from simple turnkey to fully customizable and extendable developer portals. When choosing a solution, you need to balance your customization requirements against time and knowledge required to implement your portal. In summary, we have the integrated portal. You can also extend the flexibility of customization using the Drupal-based portal, where we have a Drupal Kickstart. If Drupal and the integrated portal is not of something that you would like to go for, you can decide to create a third-party developer portal using your own tools. The reason being is because all of the Apigee operations can be done programmatically using the Apigee APIs. After you build and launch your APIs on Apigee, you need to ensure that they are available and performing as expected in order to maintain uninterrupted service. Apigee's API monitoring enables you to track your APIs to make sure they are up and running correctly. API monitoring provides near real-time insights into API traffic and performance to help you quickly diagnose and solve issues as they arrive. API monitoring enables you to create alerts to notify you of changes in API traffic so you can take appropriate action before customers are affected. Also, it enables you to increase API availability and reduce the mean time to diagnosis by quickly investigating issues with your APIs. Also, you can leverage fault codes to have a speedy diagnosis. And finally, you can also isolate problem areas very quickly to diagnose errors, performance, and latency issues and their source using our out-of-the-box dashboards. As an Apigee customer, you can also use Google Cloud monitoring tools to help you support your API monitoring needs. Apigee API Analytics collects and calculates a wealth of information that flows through API proxies. You can visualize this data with graphs and charts in the Apigee UI, or you can download the raw data for offline analysis using Apigee APIs. So, analytics helps you answer common questions such as, how is my API traffic trending over time? Which API methods are most popular? Who are my top developers? When is the API response time fastest or the slowest? Geographically, where do I see the most API traffic? How much revenue did your transactions generate? You can analyze data for a specific host name or for an entire environment as well as API proxy. The answers to questions like these can help you to improve APIs, troubleshoot problems, as well as make better business decisions related to your API program. In addition to viewing Apigee analytics and monetization data directly within the Apigee UI, you can also view them using the Looker Studio integration, which connects Apigee data to Google's Looker Studio. Looker Studio is a powerful and flexible tool that you can use to display Apigee data in a fully customizable dashboard and report. Of course, you can also decide to export the Apigee analytics data directly into BigQuery for further analytics, as well as to join it with other datasets. Here is an example of the out-of-the-box dashboards that you can start leveraging from day one as soon as you start using Apigee. As you can see, we have performance dashboards. You have the ability to create custom reports using custom metrics and dimensions specified by yourselves. You can do some latency analysis, request maps, and many more. Now, when it comes to Apigee and Looker Studio, we want you to marry the world of business intelligence with API data using world-class data analysis and visualizations tools. So immediately with Looker Studio, you can create your own reports and dashboards using a drag-and-drop interface infused with AI to be able to bring together different insights. As you can see, immediately technology leaders will be able to understand the usage of the API platform, as well as the performance and the experience. Business leaders will be able to gain insights based upon the adoption of their backend services, as well as the engagement and revenue that their APIs are generating. Now let's head on to the section regarding securing, governing, and monetizing your APIs. Within Apigee, we have a wide set and multi-layered approach to analyzing and protecting your APIs. Immediately, you can start leveraging the Apigee security policies to be able to apply security instructions and steps to the API processing layer. There is also many different types of security functionalities, such as the ability to configure MTLS, TLS, and many more. With Apigee, we also have the ability to continually monitor your APIs to protect them from security threats, including attacks from malicious clients and abuse, using advanced API security. Advanced API security analyzes your API traffic to identify suspicious API requests and provides tools to block or flag those requests if you decide to do so. In addition, advanced API security evaluates your API configurations to ensure they meet security standards and gives you recommendations for improving them if needed. To dive deeper into advanced API security, as you can see, it is currently split into 3 different types of functionalities. The first one is to ensure consistent standards, applying or showcasing security scores that assesses the risks of the APIs, giving you recommendations if there are any issues. Also, the ability to understand every attack, and this is using the same ML models trained on a corpus of Google traffic and used by Google to protect its public-facing services. So immediately you can leverage this to be able to understand your API traffic. And this also comes with dashboards and security reports to understand any instance or any security reports that need to be generated to the security teams. And finally, you can go ahead and act on attacks very promptly, using the ability to flag, block, or redirect a detected attack, as well as get alerts on any incidents promptly without consistent monitoring needed on your side. Apigee comes with a robust governance and data compliance controls. Immediately, you can have federated single sign-on for management UI and developer portals, so you can integrate your third-party identity providers directly to manage access into Apigee as well as developer portals. We have a fine-grained role-based access control. We have audit logging, the ability to mask data when debugging your APIs. Also, by default, within Google Cloud, Apigee as well as Google Cloud encrypts data at rest and also in transit. And you have the ability to use customer managed encryption keys to be able to further have a custom approach to encrypting the data that is stored within Google Cloud. We also have these VCP security controls support and many other functionalities, including certifications such as the ISO 27000, HIPAA, PCI, SOC, and many more certifications. Also within Apigee, you have the ability to real-time trace and audit end-to-end, or include Apigee's trace and audit into your end-to-end tracing distributed systems. So we are able to support distributed tracing systems such as Jaeger, CloudTrace, Zipkin, for example, as well as this gives you the ability to have an end-to-end debugging to really give you an understanding whenever issues arise. And directly within Apigee, as part of the creation as well as the building of APIs, the process of building APIs, we have the ability to debug your APIs directly within the Apigee UI. The ability to understand the latency, performance, and execution of every single policy in real time using Apigee tracing, the ability to easily apply a filter to pinpoint an exact message by header values such as the correlation ID, as well as even have a look at the API debugging at another time by downloading the trace session for future review. Also, as an API provider, you need an easy to use and flexible way to monetize your APIs so that you can generate revenue whenever your APIs are used. Using Apigee's monetization feature, you can add a rate plan to an API product. The rate plan lets you charge the developers for your APIs. You can also configure the rate plan to share your API revenue with developers. So immediately with Apigee, you have a flexible way to monetize your APIs using different types of methodologies of monetization. Also, I also wanted to highlight the ability to dynamically change the price of monetization in real time whilst the API is being processed. So even that could even be a use case for some customers looking to dynamically charge customers based upon API consumption or based upon the processing consumption of the backend system. So thank you so much. Hopefully you have gotten an overview of Apigee and application integration. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Harish to continue on with the end-to-end demonstration.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you so much for insightful introduction and detailed information about Apigee and application integration. So guys, what we are going to do, so far you have seen why and how in Apigee. So what we are going to do, we are going to take this information and try to implement an end-to-end use case. And let's go and start checking what's the use case is. So far we saw application integration and Apigee together provides different capabilities, which Mehdi went into quite a big details. And then what we are going to do is we are going to see a real world scenario where we have to go and implement or send some data to our downstream system. It could be any system. For this example, I have chosen Salesforce just to show you that the connector power of application integration. It could be anything else also. It could be your Cloud SQL, it could be your PubSub, it could be your internal microservice application where you want to send some information. Now, that is for that implementation, I'm going to use application integration, and then I'm also using Apigee to do some different implementation regarding security and governance and all. And then the scenario is my external application needs some data, or it's going to send some data. I'm going to take that information, pass it through different business logic, and then it will end up in Salesforce. Now, there are 5 major components in this demo itself, and what these components are doing, very briefly, I will go over that. So the first component, which is in front of anything else, is that I am using Google Cloud's load balancer along with Cloud Armor. So that is providing me a global exposure of my API itself, which I'm exposing. And then Cloud Armor is giving me my initial defense, first line of defense with its own bot detection based on volumetric attacks, which might happen. And in my load balancer, I can also do TLS and MTLS, which can be connected to outside world. And if I choose to implement mutual authentication using certificates. Now the Apigee, what Apigee is doing here is Apigee is basically giving me opportunity to have my integration on the concept of API first integration. So this API first integration, the fulfillment of APIs or integration is happening at Apigee, where I am doing some basic static validation based on OpenAPI spec. And you might know that in OpenAPI spec, you can define different format checks, different mandatory checks. So all those validation and checks and balances are happening at Apigee layer. Then I can also implement rate limiting quota management using Apigee's different policies, which are out of the box available. Then I can implement authentication, authorization, as Mehdi also talked about, that there are different authentication schemes available in Apigee itself. You can have basic API key validation, you can have OAuth implementation, you can do JOT validation, and you can use external IDP, internal IDP. So all this is also implemented using Apigee here. And then you can also create a mindset of exposing your APIs as a product, not directly exposing your APIs, but bundling them into a business required product itself. So you can bundle your different APIs and then you expose those APIs as product. Now, then in application integration, what I'm going to do is different orchestration, having different validation service. Maybe I have some internal services which I want to take through. I want to check whether the address coming in is valid based on my some database setup which I have done. I want to do some message modification. I want to do some error handling. I want to implement some scatter gather implementation of IPaaS solution. Then I also want to notify my DevSecOps teams that some kind of data is coming in, maybe something is wrong. So we will see all this in real-time working. Then the 2 other components which I'm trying to mimic here is I'm using Cloud Function for this, but it could be any other service also. Maybe you have a GKE service or something else, or Kubernetes service which you have written. So what this functions is doing, it's trying to mimic an internal service for our use case or this demo use case. It's essentially a dynamic validation service for doing address check or customer ID checks and all those things, which might not be directly available in Apigee, but I can use application integrations, connectors to call different services and then execute my workflows based on that. Now, at the end, Salesforce is our end target where this data is going to go, and we will see how it goes. So before I go to that, let me unshare and share my whole screen so that you can see what I'm seeing. Okay, cool. So now you can see my whole screen, and what we are going to do is, this is how the workflow goes. So I have an API consumer, and this could be any web application, or this could be any external application, or a service provider, or your partner in business who might be wanting to access your data or information from your systems. That consumer, in my case, I'm going to use Postman, because I was being lazy. I didn't implement a UI. So I'm going to use API consumer using a Postman collection. Now that Postman collection is going to send information to my Apigee, and Apigee is going to do all the checks and balances, which we talked about. And I will also show you the implementation in Apigee itself, how it is doing and what it is doing. Then that request is passed on to application integration. And this handover is also very easy, because Apigee is providing out-of-the-box policies which can connect to any application integration, and it doesn't have to be running in the same project or not even in the same network. So what you can do, because it uses Google Cloud's workload identity. So with using workload identity, you can control which integration you want to expose to Apigee. So that is what I'm doing, and I will show you that part as well. From my application integration, I have written some business flow, and that business flow takes care of either sending email notification to my DevOps team. If everything goes well, the data is sent to Salesforce, and then it also calls some Cloud Function services, which are basically mimicking if I have internal services or not. So let's go and see step by step. First thing first, let's call this service and see if everything runs fine. And then we will be able to see this data going into Salesforce. And then we will also do some different scenario checks. I will change the payload and see how and what different components are implementing there. So I'm just going to send this across, and hopefully if demo gods are with me, it will work. It did. So what happened here is the request was taken by our Google Load Balancer, sent to Apigee. Apigee did its checks of because everything was fine, no error was thrown, that it was handed over to application integration. Application integration provided Salesforce connector, and it created a record in my Salesforce itself. So if I go to Salesforce, hopefully I will be able to see this record, which I just sent. So let me refresh this. So there you go. I have account or contact created in Salesforce, which is basically my name and then some bank account number. If also there was a past check, because all the data was correct, everything was fine. And this is how the record is created. Now let's go to say Apigee and see what exactly is implemented, and we will see what I'm doing there. So in Apigee, as Mehdi was saying, that out of the box, there are a lot of policies available. So I'm using few of those, but there are more which you can utilize. So just as an example, that within Apigee itself, you have request and response flow access. And with that, you can implement at different hooks kind of implementation, where before you go to your target, you want to do some workflow implementation. And when you receive response from your backend, you want to do something else. For example, if you want to do your validation check or authentication like API keys or JOT tokens and all those things, you want to do it even before you go to your backend, and that should be your first check. And similar to that, what I'm doing is my first check is I'm validating there is an API key or not. And then what I'm doing checks for Open API spec, and then Open API spec. All these policies are out of the box. If I click on here, let's see. So out of the box, we are providing a lot of policies, which we talked, which Mehdi also talked about. And if you sometimes you might have a scenario where the out of the box policy might not be enough, so you can also write your own using Java or JavaScript or whatnot. So you will see like it's quite extensive, and a lot of things are available, and it is divided into security or message transformations and all those things. So you can utilize that components here. Now, what you also get in Apigee is other than the common pre-flow hooks where you can add your policies, you also get access to the particular implementation itself. So for example, the API which I called here, if you might see there is like create account. If I go back to my Apigee, within my Apigee, it's implementation of proxy implementation itself. I am implementing some custom logic for that create account flow only. And then I have some fetch account flow, which is also doing something else. In my case, what I'm doing, I'm calling two different integrations to implement my business logic here. So if I go back and take this ID and go to my fetch account, and if I paste this, and let's clear this response, and if I send this, so what it is going to happen, Apigee is going to take this my path from my request, and then decide what kind of logic it needs to implement, where it needs to go, if it needs to do some message transformation or all different implementation itself. So it goes to Salesforce, and from Salesforce data is pulled out, and then I get response back. So this is in Apigee, I'm implementing all those things. Now let's see what happens if something like some validation or OpenAPI spec validation, which I want to check, which is in what happens in the scenario where my request is wrong. So as a next scenario, let's see what Apigee is doing as I was describing OpenAPI spec validations and all those checks which I have implemented in Apigee itself. Let's see how that is implemented. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the payload, and the payload itself is that account number is in wrong format, and then this format check is implemented in Apigee. So if I go back to Apigee and show you the OpenAPI spec, it might be a little small. Let's zoom it a little bit. So if I go here and I'll show you that in my account, I have given a pattern, and if this pattern is not satisfied, then Apigee OpenAPI spec validation check will get triggered, and it will reject that request coming in. So let's go and send this request, and I'm going to send this here. Now, this is what happened is like now Apigee did the OpenAPI spec validation check and stopped the request from even going to application integration or Salesforce itself and send that response back. Now, the error you are seeing here is the default message which OpenAPI spec sends. You can catch it, you can make it customized, and you can send whatever message you want to send based on your business requirement. So that's the check which is happening in Apigee. And another thing which also Apigee is doing, as I was talking about, is if I am not sending API keys, so let's check that also. If I uncheck this API key which I am sending, so in this case, a different validation check will be done by Apigee, and Apigee is going to tell, oh, your API key is not valid, please send a proper API key, and that you get the idea about that. Now, so those are the things which are happening in Apigee itself, right? So you can see that you can implement this business logic, and also you get access to the response when you're sending back. Once you go to your Salesforce, you come back, you can also do some custom implementation logic on the different either resources or as a generic on a whole response flow itself. Now let's go to integration and see how the integration is implemented. So this is my integration, and in this integration, what is happening is I'm exposing this integration as an API trigger. Now, this is the API trigger which is called by Apigee itself. And I am going to go back to Apigee and show you the out-of-the-box policies which are making it easier to consume it, and how the role-based access is also working. Now, my application integration is running in a completely different project. You might see here that at the top, my project is different. And when I go back to Apigee, my Apigee project is different. Now, how I'm controlling this access is that when you deploy your proxy in Apigee, you can choose that I want to deploy my proxy with a particular service account. Now, you take the service account, you go to your project where your integration is running, you give it a role that it can invoke your application integration. So that is how you control the access control. And then you can choose any kind of role. You can either give it admin role or different kind of roles, which even Mehdi was talking about. Now, what is happening here is once I get this request is sent and the payload is transferred from Apigee to my application integration. Now, what I am doing here is I am calling two scatter-gather methods where I am sending my requests to two different validation services in parallel. And these validation services will run synchronously in my case. You can also choose to run them asynchronously if you do not want to wait for something else, some response, and you just want to send that message to that end service and then fire and forget kind of implementation. But in my case, I'm sending both to this validation service. And this validation service, as I was talking about, it is run created in Cloud Function. So very quickly, let's go to Cloud Function and see what it is. So if I go to my implementation here, my implementation is very simple. I don't have any database or anything behind. What I did, like my validation address countries are New York, London, Delhi, and whatever. You can very easily from Cloud Function go to your database or somewhere else. You can also fetch it from the cache, and then you can check whether your request is proper or not. So that is my implementation is written, and then what it does, it sends back pass check or no. And similarly, this is address validation. I also have account validation. So if my accounts are a valid account from my database itself or my recording system, system of record, then also I'm either sending back yes or no. Nothing very complicated in this Cloud Function. It's just to show you that what is happening in integration itself. Now, once I get the response back, what I'm doing is just to show you that there are different kind of implementation available in application integration. I'm using a JavaScript policy here. What this JavaScript policy is doing, it is collecting the response coming back from previous two steps and then creating a pass check yes or no. Now, this pass check variable, what I'm doing is I'm using it further, whether check is passed or not. And then I send it either if the check was all passed, there will not be an email sent to my DevOps team. But if the check is failing, I'm going to send that something is wrong. Please go and check. I'm going to write it into Salesforce, but somebody should go and verify whether the record is proper or not. So we did trigger something which was not valid. No, we have not yet. So let's go and start triggering a message which is not valid. And I am going to go back and go to body, click put a message, and let's do this. And this time it is not a valid, it is valid as per OpenAPI spec, but it is not valid as per that it is not existing record or it is not a valid account in my system of records. So Apigee is going to let it go through, but integration is going to write it to Salesforce, but also send an email to my DevOps team that maybe something is going wrong. Maybe somebody should go and check it. Let's send this. Now, what happened, as I said, the integration got created. Now, if I go to Salesforce and try to refresh again, another record for my name is created, but this time the pass check is no. It means that the checks of my services were done. And that value was also sent to Salesforce, because if somebody wants to check this in when the Salesforce they open, they will be able to see check was not passed or failed. And then also, if I go back to my email, there should be an email coming in here. So as I said, send this value here, maybe too small. Let me just zoom it up. And then it says that which check has failed. Account number validation was failed. Yes, it was valid account number. No, it was not. And the address was valid. No, it was not. So if I go and change this from Gotham City to, let's say, London, and this time let's put Clark Kent, because now Clark Kent is coming to London. I was in Gotham. Okay, let's send this again. Now, again, another record should have been created this time. Here, Clark Kent is created, pass check was no. But why I created this is I wanted to show you that now Clark Kent, this time, address validation was passed, but the account validation was no. So you see, you get the idea that what is happening here is I'm implementing my business logic based on different actions and triggers what are provided by application integration, and I'm creating the workflow for that. What I'm also doing is when I'm sending all the records to Salesforce, I'm also writing it to PubSub. Maybe there is some system or I want to send it to BigQuery, or that I can also do from application integration, but maybe somebody else or some system depends on PubSub. to do this asynchronous messaging and all. So if I go to PubSub, I think it's here. So let's pull this messages in my PubSub, and hopefully there will be some message. Yes, there is one message which was Clark Kent, which was written. And in this case, this message can be picked up by somebody who's asynchronously wants to listen to application integration itself, or the message which are coming from the requester. Now, if I go back, now I wanted to show you how easy it is to call application integration. So out of the box, Apigee is providing some policies, and if I pull it up, so there are two policies very specific to application integration from Apigee, which are essentially setting up your preparing your integration call flow. So you just have to set up, okay, what is my where is my integration is running, what region it is running, what is it called, and this is where the API trigger, which I showed you, that is how my API trigger is set up, and that is essentially calling it back. So this is what I wanted to show in the demo itself. So what you're seeing today is I have used the power of Apigee providing me an API first approach for my integration. I'm using authentication, I'm using governance, and I can go and see analytics and all those things which Mehdi talked about, which is coming from Apigee. And similar to that, application integration also provides me how can I implement different business logic and create a workflow for my business requirement, and that will be implemented in application integration. And then I can control to connect to different services. Out of the box, integration provides you 100+ connectors. It could be Salesforce, it could be Workday, it could be Cloud SQL and whatnot. So all these are also bundled up together to give you a view of implementing your business logic regarding APIs and integration. Kevin is going to take you through the ending part. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Harish, for that great, insightful demo. I really love mentionings to Gotham, Superman, and really a lot of fun. With that, I think we've come through what we wanted to show you. We started with why APIs are important, why we see more and more APIs, why there's a lot of growth. From that, we followed up on all three of our products. Mehdi has taken you through Apigee for API management and application integration, and we just saw that in practice. So with that, just coming back to where we started with, this is what you've seen today is Apigee API management and our application integration platform, both Google Cloud native products, and they will help you making sure that you are flexible, implementing your digital use cases, be resilient at scale, doing this with security and protective mindset in place, and tailoring this to your developers. And hopefully all that you've seen today makes sense if you take these 4 points into account. So if you are interested to see more or do more or come to visit us, that is possible. We have 2 hands-on sessions planned. One is on Apigee together with GenAI. It will be March 27th. And another one is on application integration specifically, which is on April 10th. This will give you an opportunity to dive a bit more into the product and also try it out yourself. We have the registration links here, and also for convenience, a QR code. Then also I want to inform you that we have some API summits planned. One will be in Munich on April the 30th. So that's a few weeks away. And the other one is in London on May the 2nd. So whatever location suits you, come and visit us, register, and we would like to see you in person there. The last point to mention is please share some feedback. Again, I promise it's the last QR code. This will take you to a Google form to provide us some feedback. We'd love to hear what your thoughts on how we could improve to do this better next time. So with that, let me end the meeting. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for showing up, and we hope you've learned something. So have a great day. Bye-bye.